It is Wednesday, my dudes, and that means that a new episode of Loki came out on Disney Plus this morning, and that means I watched it and we're here to review it today, right now. This series continues to deliver, and I just want to say that right off the bat, this series has done better in two episodes of addressing what is going on in the series, explaining the world, explaining the conflict, and getting you there, having more mystery, but it making more sense than any of the other shows thus far. WandaVision, at this point, now, you can't just say episode 2 of WandaVision because the first 2 episodes of WandaVision are only 20 minutes. So we would have been episode 4, which is we interrupt this broadcast, or we interrupt this program, which is the episode that has Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau, and we learn about S.W.O.R.D. and what's been going on in the real world outside of Westview. So that's where we were in WandaVision. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, we already knew way more about U.S. Agent. His name escapes me at the moment. John. But we already knew way more about John than we obviously do about this other Loki variant that Mobius and his team at the TVA are hunting. I guess I can't begin to express how well that this series balances letting the audience know what's going on with a good deal of mystery, but not making it like you're sitting there confused the entire time. So I think initially, just non-spoiler wise, that is what we have going with Loki. Objectively, we are already getting more information. I would argue better information than we have in either of the other two shows in regard to what is actually going on, what the stakes of this are for the rest of the MCU. And last time I talked a lot about the production design of the show, the look of it, the aesthetic, the set designs, the costume designs. This is carried over in the feel of the show. I don't think I realized it so much because I was just getting exposed to the TVA and the world, but in this second episode, we are really diving deep into the detective feel of this series, which I love. Now, I've never watched something like X-Files. I know some people have said that this kind of is reminiscent of that. I'm still gonna go with my comparison of Mindhunter, just because I feel like a lot of the grunt work in Mindhunter, or montages that they do to try to come up with formulas of how they're gonna interview the serial killers, is very similar to what they're doing in Loki. That is what this series reminds me of. It's also me trying to get more people to watch Mindhunter because I want that show to come back in some form, even though I don't think it's going to. Thanks for nothing, Netflix. I think honestly some of my favorite parts of this episode were spent in the tedious work hours between Loki and Mobius, which I say hours, but time works differently at the TVA. I also loved just the opening of this episode being Loki reading files and looking over Mobius's jet ski magazine, talking to Miss Minutes, and I've been working on a little something on the side. This is my tote bag that I painted. Disney, please don't come for me for copyright. I swear I'm not selling this. This is just for me. Little Miss Minutes bag. Hey y'all. Anyways, okay, that was unnecessary for me to show you that, but I just wanted to share how much I love this series thus far. Still, I cannot believe that they're towing this beautiful line, a timeline, if you will, of making this show so entertaining to watch between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, but really making sure we as an audience understand the stakes going forward in the MCU with this series. I don't want to shade the other two shows, but this series, with each episode, it could end there and I would be more satisfied with it and feel like it's more connected to the MCU than the other two shows have. This episode balanced the exposition of time travel of the TVA, explaining this whole new aspect to the MCU that we have never been in contact with before, explaining that to the audience at the same time the characters are finding it out with Loki's Ragnarok metaphor. First of all, he uses Ragnarok, which is genius because it's what he understands, even though he didn't live through it, and I thought that was a great moment when he read that case file and saw that Asgard had been destroyed. I loved that example, using the salad and the salt and the pepper and the milk, Casey's milk. Love that Casey made a return, that the exposition was not, here's some exposition and we're gonna talk and have a conversation. It made sense why Loki was explaining multiple times to Mobius this event, this testing this theory. Also, I loved the Pompeii scene. I kind of have a hunch that we'll see the President Loki next episode. Just a little hunch that I have. So I guess I'll just get into my Tesseract takes because honestly, I feel like I've already stressed enough the line that the series is towing between exposition, enjoyment, comedy, and severity within the universe. But my biggest Tesseract take, now this is spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, you can click away. For the most part, I haven't gone into too much detail with this episode, but this is where the real spoilers are. There's a really nice balance in this episode that leads to my first Tesseract take. When Lady Loki sent all of those, I'm just assuming she's Lady Loki. Okay, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming. When she sent all of those resets, I think she sent them to the creation of the timekeepers or wherever the timekeepers are to reset any of their fixes to the sacred timeline but way back in time whenever they first established the sacred timeline. And the reason I say that is when Loki and Mobius are having a conversation about what happens when the timekeepers figure out the rest of the sacred timeline. Does the TVA just go away? Loki's trying to kind of poke holes in the organization, learn more about them, because he's obviously been given what he calls propaganda, so he doesn't necessarily believe the stuff he's being told, and he feels like there's more to the story than there is. Loki says, like, what's the point of life without chaos? Like, that's what makes it fun. If you just know what's going to happen, that's not fun. So if this is a variant of Loki and she is going off to reset all of the timelines, so there's no timeline, so there is a multiverse, and then there's so many apocalyptic events or so much chaos that it cannot be fixed, that she can go through and cause any sort of problems that she wants, any sort of mischief that she wants. Now, I also think she could be sending them to individual points in the timeline where, like, for example, the 1985 Renaissance Fair. If she had sent a reset button right at the moment when the team stepped out, so she reset the reset almost. If she's able to do that, then that to me would create a branch in a timeline that was previously fixed, but it create another branch off of that, making the multiverse way more likely. So that is where I think this is going. My other hot take, or Tesseract take for this episode, is that when the 2012 variant Loki escapes Mobius and follows Lady Loki through the portal to who knows where in time, I feel like the 2012 Loki is going to try to get on her good side, find out what's going on, but he's ultimately not even going to trust her and side with her. I think he's kind of working for the TVA. I think he wants as much to do with the TVA and the Timekeepers as possible, and he would rather be on their good side than on the good side of this Lady Loki variant. That is just my take, though, and maybe that's just because that's what I want to happen, is I want him and Mobius to see more of them. I want a second season of the show. That's the thing that this episode secured for me. First episode was a lot of like, yes, my favorite character is back, like I love this, Owen Wilson's in the MCU now, blah, 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 blah. But now that we have this episode, to me, shows that there is enough to carry this show multiple seasons, and I so hope that Marvel is going to be doing that. That is my wish for this series. What did you think of this episode of Loki? Did you like it better or worse than the first episode? I really loved the structural format of the first episode, but I love the detective stuff in this episode, so it's kind of hard for me to choose one over the other. And also we got to see just a little bit more of the mystery at hand here, and also Loki just being a smartass, which is just kind of my favorite thing ever. So let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Be sure to like this review so that I know to keep doing them, and it really helps me with the algorithm and all that kind of YouTube-y stuff. Also, if you don't want to miss these or High School Musical, the musical, the series reviews, or any other content on my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss anything that I upload. I hope you guys have an absolutely amazing day, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye, guys. Honestly, by the end of this series, I'll be able to add a certificate of time travelology or understanding to my college degree because, like, dang. This show is complicated enough. I feel like if I can wrap my head around this, I should get some form of denotation on my degree, you know? Entertainment and media studies plus time travel. That sounds pretty good to me.